Yeah, I'll call this meeting to order. This is the annual meeting of the Town of Dayton, of the electors of Town of Dayton. It means 7 p.m., April 15th, April 21st, 2015. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've developed a cold, so please forgive me. The order of business tonight is we'll review and approve the minutes of the last two annual meetings, which is the annual meeting from last year and then also the budget meeting that was in November. We'll go through the financial report from last year and approve the financial report. Then we'll also do any other motions that are allowed by the annual town meeting, and beyond that, we'll go into discussions or requests that the citizens have. You must be an elector of the Town of Dayton to make a motion or to vote. If you're making a motion or seconding a motion, please identify yourself and speak up so it can be recorded properly. Also, I want to introduce up here, we're making a presentation of last year's financial statement. This is your last year's board. On your left, my right, is Jim Peglow, outgoing town board supervisor. Glenn Newsom, outgoing town board supervisor. I'm Chris Klein, I'm the outgoing town board chairman. Judy Seuss is your past and continuing town clerk. Brenda Hewitt is your past and continuing town treasurer. Out here tonight, we've got David Armstrong is your incoming town board chairman. You'd wave. Jane Hosh is incoming town board supervisor. John Miller is your incoming town board supervisor. And as I mentioned, Judy Seuss and Brenda Hewitt will be your town clerk for the upcoming session. Starting with that, if everyone's received a copy of the minutes, there is a correction on the first page for the annual meeting. Last year we approved the minutes of the 2013 annual meeting and the 2013 budget hearing. And on the budget hearing, my notes were that Mr. Armstrong set the road budget at $945,000. You remember that, or John? Do you remember? John Hebring seconded it. I thought I saw him here.
I thought it was 945.
Yeah. So we correct that to 945. Were there any other corrections to the minutes of either the budget and transportation meeting or the annual meeting from last year?
Was this budget meeting about the year 2015 transportation?
It was the hearing that was in 2014 for the taxes that were levied in 2014 payable for the 2015 year.
Okay, well, my question is, the very first line, budget transportation for years, is it, okay, if it's the money we're talking about being levied, that was the 2014 taxes, but it's the budget of what we're going to spend this year, right?
Yeah, yes, I would accept that as a correction. That the budget and transportation hearing was for the budget for the 2015 year. Correct. Are there any other corrections to the minutes of either meeting? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, John, here on here, a reassessment of the property. Now, are we gonna be assessed of the property from this area or from Oshkosh area on our property?
I'm not sure if I understand the question, but there is a revaluation
Right,
going on, and that revaluation is in process right now.
right.
That revaluation will be for the 2015 year, which would affect taxes payable in 2016.
Right, but last time when they had, that our property, whoever, you had a certain house, it was valued at the same as the property in Oshkosh district.
I don't believe so.
Well, that's what I was told when I come here on a complaint from the assessors.
Well, the assessment firm is from the Appleton area,
I know,
but
but.
the revaluation,
Assessed the same as they would be in Appleton or Oshkosh.
no, it's assessed, it's valued according to the market in the town of Dayton.
In this area here.
Yes. Jim?
I'll make a motion to accept or to approve the annual meeting minutes from 2014, April 15th, 2014, with the correction of changing the 2012 to 2013, and the special meeting of the budget transportation meeting for the 2015 year, with that correction and the correction of the road budget being moved to $945,000. John Green.
Excuse me. Sure, why doesn't work me? Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes with the corrections stated. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries by voice vote. The next item is the financial report from last year. Okay, on page, on page 3, the balance sheet, I'll have to say is a little bit confusing. In December, each year, we collect about half of the property taxes that are due. Most of those are payable to other entities, the school district, Wapak County, state of Wisconsin, the sanitary district, and the Chain of Lakes district. So we collect and we have received $4 million in cash, but almost all of that is payable to other parties. So if I could direct you to the next page, that's the statement of revenues and expenditures. That's the summary budget items by category. So in 2014, total revenues were $839,000, total expenditures were $911,000. The net assets includes both cash and property, primarily building.
I have a question.
And the detail for those amounts are on the screen. There was a question.
Yeah, I just had a question because you were, went over on your expenditures, where does that money come from?
Well,
You said more than you brought in, so I just wondering where that came from. That's all.
it
Was it past money that was saved up, or how did that work out?
It comes from the fund balance. And the year before, we added $105,000 to the fund balance. Last year, there was $72,000 taken out of the fund balance.
Okay. I was just, that's all I wanted to know.
So on the screen, the detail for the intergovernmental revenues is made up of those categories. Intergovernmental revenues total $200,000 last year compared to $237,000 the year before. The primary difference there is we did a number of small bridges and culverts in the township in 2013, so we got approximately $30,000 in grants in 2013 from Opak County. Under licenses and permits, the biggest change was under business license in 2013. In 2014, we had revenue of approximately $5,000 from the what was the name of it? The cell phone company that put the tower or the additional tower up on Stratton Lake Road. Miscellaneous revenues, and this amount is categorized differently than it is on the auditor statement. We received $21,000 in both 2013 and 2014 in an insurance recovery. They did have that under intergovernmental revenues, but it's not a intergovernmental revenue, it's a insurance recovery. Expenses for last year, town board expenses. Clerk expenses are always higher in presidential or gubernatorial election years because we have additional elections and we need additional staff for the larger elections. So it's additional staff and training. The assessor was on a salary basis until last year. So that will not be an expense going forward.
Could you back up announced there? What's the difference in that, town hall insurance from $52.97 to $27,859?
We had to change insurance companies. Our previous insurance company non-renewed us, primarily because of a number of lawsuits that had been filed, including yours.
Which wouldn't have been filed at all.
Okay?
Assessor expenses, question?
Yes. I'm sorry, what?
We have assessor salaries at 17, which is going away. We have assessor expenses at 12.9.
Right, the new assessment contract is based on an assessment year, which is June 1st to June 1st. The assessment firm has invoiced us for $13,000 year-to-date off of that contract. So those are no longer a salary to the town, it's just a direct expense.
So we paying twice that for their annual expenses?
The annual contract, I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe it's 21,000 and a few dollars.
That's based off of a 5-year
That's a 5-year,
contract that,
well, actually, it's a 6-year,
6-year contract?
including the revaluation
Which
this
includes the
year.
reval, which would be a one large sum, and I forget what the numbers were. We were better off to go with dividing it out over the 6 years. And it comes out less than what we were paying our past assessor.
Is that contract then just for the 6 years?
Yes.
Wasn't that a 5-year contract?
It was a 1-year revaluation year, and then 5 years beyond that as the town's assessor. In 2014, our snow plowing expenses were $158,000, which is almost $100,000 more than they were in 2012. 2013 was somewhere in the middle. Recreation programs are under budget, but I believe that we're missing an invoice from the City Park and Recs Department. So there again, that's the summary budget, which is similar to your sheet. And the fund balance changes. The 2012 fund balance was $886,000. 2013 increased by $115,000. So the fund balance in 2013 was $1,002,000. 2014, the change was $73,000. Fund balance $929,000. With the grants that have been approved for the construction projects, the fund balance after completion of the 3 bridges and the West Road projects, and those grants should actually increase our fund balance by $67,000. So the fund balance projected at the end of 2015 is roughly $1 million.
Chris,
Yes, Jane?
is that 21,000 from the landfill included in the fund balance?
the $21,000 from the landfill is shown as a revenue. I have it classified as an insurance recovery. The auditor had it classified as a intergovernmental revenue. I don't know if they changed that or not.
Where is that one? Is it in the fund balance?
It's revenue. It's revenue to the town. So
Right.
it's shown as revenue. And that will continue for the next 15 years.
But is that reserve money? Is that a reserve fund?
The board can designate it that way.
Which it has been in the last 6 years?
The board designated it as a reserve to make sure that we were had enough money to pay for the bridge construction projects.
It's for the landfill, it was taken out of the landfill, correct?
Okay, yes.
That's what I was-
So it's not the bridges, it's the landfill reserve fund that was taken out and put in general fund, correct?
Yes,
To
yes.
pay for bridges.
Well, it's
You just said that.
it's a short-term use, yes. Station,
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Go down to line 4045, under professional fees.
yes.
What specifically that says 62,893? Where does that come, difference from 11,000 the prior year?
That's attorney fees plus auditor's fees. Auditor's fees are roughly $2,500.
Thank you. And that is projected in 2015 to go back down to around roughly 12,000?
I don't have that budget number in front of me, but I don't know.
Thank you.
Was there any other question on the, yes, ma'am?
Well, I don't know if I understood this correctly, that 21,000 for the landfill, that occurs under miscellaneous revenues, insurance recovery. Is that repeated down below in the
No.
other line item?
No, that's a revenue. We had about, last year, we had about $15,000 in landfill expense. The landfill expenses will go on into perpetuity. The annuity from the insurance company is only for 20 years. Are there any other questions?
Question.
Yes.
Looking at that number in 14, we have an actual number on the bottom for public works at $466,000.
Yes.
What, did we build anything? Did we construct anything for the $466,000?
Well, there's two items here, road maintenance and construction. The construction is primarily the engineering for the bridges and road work that will be completed this year. The engineering work was done primarily during 2014, so that money was expensed as bills were received.
So we did not build anything in 2014.
There were no major road construction projects. There were a couple of small projects that were done.
And if we were to look at 2015 budget, what would the construction cost number be in 2015 for the line 53311, total construction?
Roughly $850,000.
Okay. So if we had 850, which is another 500,000, how does that affect our bottom line for 15?
Well, the bottom line for 15 is in the projected budget. So that includes the public works budget, including transportation, plus the landfill expenses, streetlight expenses. And the bottom line is the expenses would be $67,000 less than the revenues.
So what's the fund balance in,
The projected fund balance at the end of 2015 would be $996,000.
that's 14? So
No,
you
no.
had-
No.
2015 fund balance is this line right here, which is $929,000, which is the audited fund balance at the end of 2014, plus the projected change. Yes, Stacia?
Chris, I've got a really quick question. Back up to Public Works and Transportation. There were two, I'm sorry, yeah. The road maintenance, does that include tree cutting, snow plow, and like pothole filling? Or does that fall under transportation? Road construction?
All that falls under road maintenance.
Road maintenance. So we're about the same, 372 last year and 349 this year? 349,000 for road maintenance.
The transportation budget has averaged around $440,000 for 15 years.
Okay.
15 years ago, the price of asphalt was $20 a ton. Now it's $60 a ton. But the total amount for transportation, with some variations, hasn't changed in 15 years.
That road maintenance includes snow plow and tree clearing, correct?
It includes all road expenditures
Okay,
other than construction.
okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions before my voice gives out? If there are no other questions, I hear a motion to approve the financial report from 2014.
So moved.
Who did that?
Paul Roloff. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Jim Peglow. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? One hand. Motion carries. Two hands, okay. The next item of business is, there are some powers delegated to the town meeting by statute, including levying taxes, which was done at the special town meeting in November. Is there any motion about one of the powers of the annual meeting?
Chris, are you referring to the appointments on there as well?
I think you're looking at the town board meeting
Yeah.
The town board meeting will follow the annual meeting, and the new board will take care of that. Is there any motion that anyone has to make regarding the powers of the annual town meeting?
I'll make a motion that since there is no other motions being made, that the annual town meeting is adjourned.
Second.
Motion made by Jim Peglow, seconded by John Hebring. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 7:32.
Monthly meeting to order. We will begin with the pledge of allegiance. This is a new board, so I am going to make a brief opening general statement to everyone. All governments, federal all the way down to townships, have their problems, have their conflicts, have their issues. I think at our level, at the township level, we're very fortunate. There's not that many of us as there are in the whole United States, and small groups have a better chance of making a difference. In this next 2 years, as we approach issues, address issues, new issues come up, the board will be seeking out groups of people, diverse groups of open-minded people to serve on such committees, to try to resolve issues and even set guidelines. They'll have some authority. All of you are here tonight because you care about our township, or you live there. And so I would encourage each and every one of you, as these opportunities come up throughout the course of the year, to take advantage of them and volunteer for a committee that you might be interested in, and serve the community in that way. And I think if we do that, it's a great way to replace conflict with progress. So I encourage everyone to participate as we move forward. That's all I have to say on that subject, and I hope that made some sense to you. We're going to go on now to the roll call. Jane is here. John is here. Chris?
I am too.
I did that. Opening statements. Pardon? No, I don't have that. You want, go right ahead.
This meeting, all meetings of this board, our town have been duly posted, and the press has been notified.
Okay, so be it. I'll write that down next time. Thank you. Anything else, Chris? No? All right. Okay, so we have Jane, John, myself, Rudy, and Brenda. We're all here. And we have an agenda. Are there any comments on the agenda you've all seen it?
Where is it?
Should be in your packet.
Oh, thank you.
Any comments on the agenda? Motion to approve the agenda? All in favor, aye? Agenda is approved. Oral reports from the board. Starting with you, Jane, anything you ever talked about?
Well, I'm going to the county recycling meeting tomorrow, and I'd also like to, I'm also going tomorrow's Earth Day. We're going to visit the Tri-County Processing Plant in Appleton. If anybody's interested in going with us, let me know. choose to reuse Day and Wood County just to see how they operate that. It's a day when people can bring things. I don't know how it works, that's why we want to go and see. But anybody that's interested in knowing about those things, just talk to me later.
No.
I had a meeting with the county highway department, just a general discussion on how they handle inspection of bridges and highways. It's very informative. I've made a couple trips, one with Chris, one without, out to the bridge work that's getting started to meet the site manager and discuss the schedule and the issues. And I also was invited to the county parks department to discuss an item that's on the agenda tonight regarding kayak landing on Crystal River in the Parkerville area. Anything else? We'll go on to the treasurer's report. Any comments at all, Brenda, on the treasurer's report?
As you can see, I made a couple notations of some items that have come in April. In the general account, we did receive our first quarterly general transportation aids, and we did receive our annual landfill insurance payment. So our current balance in the general account is $128,000, almost $129,000. The tax account, everything's been settled from the tax collection until July, when the other payments come in. But we did receive in April the Water Patrol grant reimbursement, the boat reimbursement, and our annual lottery credit. So those are the only two items of notable interest in the tax account. So at this time, according to what Judy has for payables for the month, we have about $145,000 in bills that will need approval for payment. So obviously we'll need to transfer some money to the general account to cover those bills.
Okay. So do we hear a motion to transfer money?
Much money do we need?
About $60,000.
I'm looking to transfer $60,000 from the tax account, that's appropriate, into the general account. There you go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. So be it. Okay, that's okay. Not on the agenda is approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. Pardon? Okay.
So we want to do it.
We'll do it next time. We'll do 2 months worth next time. So, a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move on now to the,
Part of that is the monthly bills.
Are you including the monthly bills in that motion? Okay.
the $60,000 in bills. So the monthly check report is also included here. I have some good news about the monthly check report. There's been a lot of questions over the months since I've been coming that there wasn't enough detail. We don't understand what this charge was for. We don't understand what that charge was for. We have an upgrade to QuickBooks. And there are now 2 fields that we could use as descriptive fields in each one of these line items. So that as you see the charge, if you have, for example, if it just says Visa card, there in the future will be a column over farther to the right that describes what that charge was for. So we don't have to question anymore what it was all about. For the purpose of this meeting, I went through the report myself, and assuming that if I understood it, everyone else would, I highlighted the things I didn't understand, and I found out what they were all about. So I'm going to go through that with all of you right now. All right? On the first page, legal. Freebird Tannery of St. John, $362. That was review of Judge Volt's decision. Under clerk expenses, Visa card member service, that was office supplies and postage. Moving on down to 52,460, planning commission expenses. That's just a summation of a lot of things above it, and I did not get any additional detail on that. Down further under signs and safety, Badger State Industry, that's the purchase of some signs. On other maintenance, there is a Wisconsin Public Service for 412. That one I did not get a detail on. Visa card member service for $1,181. That was repair of the bucket truck. And down at the bottom of the page, under capital outlay, Fable repair for $14,139. That was also bucket truck repair. So those were the items that I went through, that I questioned, and I got some answers. And fortunately, in the future, we should have enough description on this document that we don't have to go through this again. Okay? So, anything we need to approve here today? Okay, we're good to go. Okay, we'll look at the oral reports. We're now to the point of public input. We'll try to limit it to 15 minutes. Any public input, please raise your hand.
Because we had those expenses for the bucket truck, can we assume that we had somebody who took training or got certified to use the bucket truck?
It's required, and there
I mean, do we have someone?
yes, we have people that are certified to operate the bucket truck. It's a renewable thing. It has to, every so often, it has to be renewed. I guess that.
Well, I don't remember hearing anything other than that it was sitting in the garage because we didn't have anybody who was certified.
I'll double check that, but I had a meeting with Mr. Henneman last week, and I believe I brought that subject up. Any other comments or questions? Okay.
I would like to extend a gratitude to our board that is also together tonight. This is really around all of the work very much and keep this town going.
We can't hear.
But the lady here is giving recognition to the former board for a good job.
Thank you.
And I certainly, as I look at the treasurer's report, they certainly left money for us, so that's good things. And congratulations to Jim and everyone else. Any other comments? Way in the back.
Just a question about the Fern Avenue road project.
Mhm.
The surveyors were out there again today. Is there any update that you can provide us?
That is a rather detailed issue. Mr. Klein and I went out to Fern Avenue about a week ago and walked it. And there are issues as to where to put the property line for the owner. The way it's currently set up, as I understand it, and Chris, you can speak up on this if you wish, right at the edge of the road, back up, is the easement ends right at the edge of the road on the property side. And it extends further out towards the creek. So that's the current status. The width of the easement is how long, how wide?
Roughly 66 feet.
66, so from the edge of the road, you go 66 feet down into the gully there, and that's where the easement ends. So your property, if you live there, begins right at the road's edge based on the current plan. Does that answer your question?
Not really.
No? Okay.
Will
Go
there be
ahead.
a meeting in the future to resolve some of this for those residents, since no one, who lives along there is
Sure.
available in the winter months before a resolution is made?
What I will do is I will try to contact one of the residents out there and be glad to come out and have a meeting with you to go through the details. And any questions, any issues that we can discuss in that group, we'll do that.
That'd be great.
Okay? I understand the issue behind all this also, so it's not an easy issue, is it?
No.
No, it's not. Okay. I won't go into the detail. Okay. Any other
I noticed that there's some cul-de-sacs that do not have, no turnaround signs up, put up yet, and I'm wondering if those are going to stop being put up.
We're gonna put a moratorium on a few things until we get a chance to evaluate better what the best course of action is for the township. That is one of them, except for things like stop signs and very important signs. And also in the tree trimming area, we're gonna put a little hold on that as well while we get a chance to evaluate both the criteria, the guidelines, and also the methods, and try to come up with the best answer for the community. That's one area where we may ask for some community involvement to set up a committee to look into these things. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does,
All right. Yes?
I have a fun question.
Huh?
When is the street sweeper scheduled to sweep, because I want a roller skateboard.
With the, I'm gonna make an assumption now. With all the bridge work that we're doing this year, they're doing 3 bridges, not 2. And that budget really was set to do 2 bridges this year and 1 next. So I would imagine that that transportation budget is pretty tight, and that there's probably not a lot of money left. If you look down at the very bottom, you'll see that next month we're gonna revisit the annual budget. And we're gonna take a look at how much is not already promised in that transportation budget that could be used for things like that. But we have to remember also that we've had some very snowy Decembers around here, and we need to keep money available for that, as well as any potential emergency road repair. So I would imagine the reason you have not had your road swept is because of a budget constraint, and we will address that next month.
Thank
Does that
you.
answer your question, Stacia?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I'm Norbert Gillespie. Is there anything new on the Red Mill project? I understand by the news reports that the county has taken over and said, as judge declared, that the county will take over and does own the Red Mill, the pond and that, and they're going to start some work with the county equipment, and that's going to be it. Is that anything new
Well,
besides that?
just to clarify, sir, and I think I know what you mean. I don't believe the county owns the Red Mill. I believe that there's a private owner that owns that. The county does and has owned the dam, and is that what you're referring to?
Well, it was the town of Dayton that spent all kinds of money on legal, $50,000, $60,000. I don't know what's correct, if it's true or not.
Well, there was a judge's ruling on
And
those
yet the
issues.
county says, we own it, we're gonna take care of it. And it's been in the news that they will, go ahead and do it.
There was a judge's ruling on that, on what's called the contested case. The judge ruled in favor of the county and issued the order to demolish the dam. Subsequent to that, the county submitted a work plan to the DNR for how they wanted to go about it. And that plan was recently approved also with the schedule. I am not specifically familiar with the schedule, but there is a person here tonight who is. And I'll just ask him if he can give us a little brief summary on what that schedule is.
The DNR requested or the judge actually ordered us to give a date for removal, working with the highway department who's going to complete the removal project. They're looking at starting the project June 1st with about 2 weeks to complete the project, although they're not sure exactly if it's going to take that long or take longer. The idea is to get in there, put a culvert right into the dam, remove the west side, work your way back to the dam, remove the abutment, then remove the base of the dam, and then work your way towards the road, and then come back to restoration of the dam site. And that is slated to take approximately 2 weeks with the start date of June 1st.
Did that answer your question, sir?
Yes, it does. You're hearing bits and pieces, you don't know really what's going on. I don't know what the cost will be. I imagine, is there an estimate on the cost to the county?
Our estimated cost for the project is around $50,000, and we will receive a grant from the state for $50,000 to cover the cost. So we'll be using state funds to remove the dam.
That sounds great.
I'm gonna put in for $499,999.99. $449,000, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other, one or two more? Cameraman, yes.
Chris Johnson. I just want to congratulate the incoming Board of Supervisors, Ms. Osh and Mr. Miller, and the new town chair, Mr. Armstrong. I wish them well, and hope they take time in learning the position, and we're all rooting for you.
Thank you very much. I suppose we should probably finish up on that one, huh? Any more questions? We'll take one more. Chris?
You got a county presentation to establish kayak landing. I believe that should be brought to the planning commission.
And I will address that issue when the time comes.
You know, I would ask that before the town make a recommendation that we find out what kind of hours that's gonna be. The proposal is to have a drive-through down to the river. That area is concealed from the road, and I can see quite a few problems with after-hours use of that property. I like the use of firearms in the proposed park be addressed. I support a kayak retrieval facility. The previous use of the Nelson Park down by the Red Mill was not safe, either with the dam in or the dam out. And I support a new kayak retrieval facility, but I'm afraid that it's going to develop into something larger where noise for the neighbors would be a problem. After hours parties would be a problem. And I'd like the board to address those concerns of the neighbors before they move forward.
I'll answer your first issue first. There will be no recommendation from the board here tonight. The reason that this presentation is being done tonight is for expediency's sake, and this will go through the normal channels of the planning commission and then allow them to make a recommendation to us. The only reason they're here tonight is because we wanted to get it out. They wanted to get it out sooner because they have a permit issue that has some time constraints to it. So we're just letting them present to the town tonight, but planning commission definitely has to come back to us with a recommendation. As far as talking to the people in the area, the person that lives closest to this proposed landing is Lucille Peterson. She's with us here tonight. Welcome, Lucille.
What?
And Jane Hosh spent quite a bit of time speaking with Lucille, and I believe we got her concurrence on this, so that's a step in the right direction.
Chairs to get up, and they grabbed down my wood.
I can tell you that she called me also, and she did not appear to be in concurrence.
Jane must be sweeter than you, because Jane got her to agree. I believe Jane, why don't you come?
Well, we talked about it, I mean, we can't.
Okay. Sounded like she was.
She's happy.
Yeah, she's happy. Those are the only comments I have on that right now, but thank you for your issues, and the man that needs to address your issues is sitting right in front of you, so I'm sure you heard everything. I think we're about done with any public comment here, so I'm going to close the floor to that, and we're going to go on to new business. The first order of new business is there was a referendum as part of the election a couple of weeks ago, and for a Class B license to sell and serve malted beverages. It passed. And John Miller is going to review some of the details of that and the coming actions.
Okay. Thank you. Just to go through a little background on the referendum, yes, it did pass. It passed by quite a large margin. The Class B license for malt liquors is just one of many licenses that the town by statute is able to issue. Currently, we have a number of licenses out. We have the BP, or what was the BP, which has what I call packaged goods license for both alcohol and beer. And we also have the minnow bucket that has a license, and theirs is for packaged beer. And what the new license will do is allow someone like the minnow bucket to serve both beer on premise and as a packaged good. So we're adding that. That is the Class B and what the Class B does. We also believe that the Class B will be available to organizations that have facilities such as the Snowmobile Club and the Conservation Club that wishes to have a permit to sell or distribute beer or sell beer on premise. So that will be added, and tonight what I'd like to do is to provide a resolution, basically, that will allow us to go to the next step, and the next step would be actually to provide an ordinance that will allow us to add the Class B license to our current ordinances for alcoholic beverages. Now, let me just read what I've written, and this is kind of in my my words. I'm not proficient yet in writing resolutions or ordinances, but I'll make a cut at it here. And I think you have a copy on the back of the check report. At the top it says State of Wisconsin, Town of Dayton, County of Wapaka, Resolution Town Board. And I'll just read it real quick. It says, electors of any municipality may determine by ballot at the election held on the first Tuesday in April the question of whether the municipality shall issue retail licenses for the sale of fermented malt beverages and intoxicating liquor. By referendum on Tuesday, April 7th, 2015, the electors of the Town of Dayton, County of Wapaka, Wisconsin voted to add the option of Class B licenses, and that would be for things like taverns, hotels, restaurants, clubs, etc., to be issued for the retail sale of beer for consumption on or off premise where sold. So what I'd like to do is make a motion now to add this Class B license to the Town of Dayton ordinances in Chapter 10 regarding alcoholic beverages. And I call this ordinance or resolution 150401, and that would be done this day. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Class B licenses to the Town of Dayton to be added by ordinance.
So this is the resolution.
This is a resolution.
Any discussion? Any discussion? It sounded pretty good to me. Do you think we should have it reviewed by any outside parties based on the fact that we haven't?
I think it's okay.
It's okay?
Yeah, I think the ordinance is something that I've drafted that we'll want to have somebody take a look at, but
Okay.
For today, we have the ordinance. This has to be passed first, and then we go to the ordinance, and that will happen actually either next month at our next meeting, or if we had a special meeting, we need to do that faster. So yes, I would like to make a motion to accept this resolution.
Seeing that there's no further comments, any comment? All in favor? All in favor?
Do you second?
Yes, you need a second.
Second?
I need a second.
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Item B on the agenda, we have John Francis and Roger Holman here from the county, and they'd like to give a brief presentation on their proposed kayak landing on the Crystal.
Thank you. Hello, I'm John Francis with Wapaka County Parks. This is Roger Holman, you probably know. I'm the park supervisor for the county. And while we're here today, is we're looking at purchasing a piece of property off of County Highway K on the Crystal River next to the Parkerville Cemetery there. And we are hoping to develop a canoe kayak launch on the site. And it also provide green space in the township and just a general picnic area and whatnot. So the property, we kind of got our proposed thing. I'll go over a little bit more in more depth here in a minute, but it's 4.2 acres that we're looking at purchasing, but it's got 660 feet of shoreline on the Crystal River. It's a pretty unique opportunity. Anytime you get, Roger will tell you, anytime you get a chance to purchase land on the water for public use, it's you got to jump on it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're in the process of applying for a stewardship grant to help fund this project, and then the rest of the money will be coming from, excuse me, from the county's the county parks property fund. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about this since we're looking at it here. This area here, what we're looking at doing is having a parking lot. This may change a little bit depending on what we're allowed to do and what we're not. So far, I'm okay with zoning. I've talked with zoning and everything, and as far as the setbacks from the river, we have to be 100 feet back with that path. The object of the path, though, is to have people allowed to drive down here, drop off canoes, kayaks, or put them back on, and then park in a parking lot. Parking is a major issue. We have Nelson Park up the road, just a little ways, and it's received a lot more use lately with canoes and kayaks and people bringing trailers and whatnot in there. And getting back up onto that road is pretty tough, and people fly around that corner pretty fast. So, and there's just not enough room to turn around when you get a few vehicles in there. So the big thing for us, you'd have a place to park for users. We're looking at developing a canoe launch somewhere in there. Where it shows it on there is based on the wetland map of the area, but it may be better one place or another. So, yes, go ahead.
How many cars is that parking area?
Well, that one right now, I think that was I think we had room for 5 trailer things and I think 6 or 7. Yeah, I think 6 or 7 just vehicles. So, and that's using a small portion of the area. It could, if it were needed, we could expand the parking lot, but I think that would be sufficient to start with. So,
John,
oh, go ahead.
where is this in relation to the cemetery?
The cemetery is right here. That's this area here. County K is running right along here. So you recognize that building. This is Parkerville Road right here. So if you look at where this property comes back, there used to be it looks like there was a road right along the stream here at one point. It came up along through there. You can see it was built up and the land was altered there. So that's where that road was, or whatever it was at one point, is kind of where this path would be going along to make a loop. And you can kind of see, if you can see these lines in here, those are the contour lines. So there's a pretty steep hill right here. And that's one of the reasons we want to be able to get people down there, so you don't have to haul a canoe or kayak back up and down a hill. So that's that part. Let's see. Oh, go ahead.
Is that going to be any problem with the tours there, the people that come from the, with their little canoes and
Ding's
stuff?
docks there.
Are we talking about?
It's just beyond.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons. The person that purchased this property is Bill Pelkey, who runs that Ding's dock thing. So he purchased it so it wouldn't get away from us in our speedy time frame of purchasing things. So the idea being that we would keep trespassers off of his property and still allow a public access, because people have been using his property as a public access, and that's private property. So, go ahead.
I have a quick question. So all the in white here, is this going to be a poured concrete or impermeable surface?
We're looking at, yes, it would be classified that, but we're looking at limestone first, and then, if it becomes an issue later where we have erosion problems, we could.
And I don't see scales, so the little yellow squares are car sizes?
Those are just directional arrows, kind of showing how the flow would go. But the scale on this little spot right there, that's one parking spot, so it's 10 feet wide. If you can see that
Thank
tiny
you.
little line, it's kind of a bright in here for that. But so yeah, we're looking at it. I think it's about 70 by 140, that parking lot.
Beautiful.
Is there a reason why you're allowing trailers?
A lot of people use the trailers to haul their kayaks and canoes. Yes.
You're giving us a place to put our kayaks in. Are you going to give us a place to take them out?
What people have been using it for now, I mean, a lot of people come from the Ching and come down, so that would be a takeout. And then to go out, there's been a lot of groups that have been starting at Nelson Park and going to Shadow Lake. So
There's no proposal to add a park further down.
not yet.
There has been preliminary discussion. Yep. Very preliminary.
One other item, John, there was a couple of comments made before you got up regarding noise, parties, alcohol. Address that to the group as well.
Right, and this area where the parking is, if you're familiar with that area, right now it's all black locust, and they're looking at possibly taking that off of there before we purchase the property. But then you would have a sight line to this parking area, and like where a restroom would go eventually. But like Chris mentioned, once you get down below that hill, you can't see it from the road. So we have a number of options. What we do in some of our parks, well, most of our parks have hours. I think it's from 11 p.m. till 6 a.m. it's closed. So, and if we do have issues, we can always put up gates. But having it posted and the ordinance on the books, Sheriff's Department can drive through, and you have that happen a few times, and word gets around. So.
The fair question is, do we have problems in the parks with parties and that? The answer is yes. Have they gotten out of hand? Not in recent years. And I have to give credit to law enforcement. Tower Lake is a prime example. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And the law enforcement has worked with us and followed through and kept an eye on the park up there. We did some redesign to help up in there. We do occasionally have issues, but not like it used to be. The other thing here is, like John said, keeping that parking lot so you can see it from the road will cause those people that want to go party not to want to go there. Down next to the water is another story, but they don't like to be trapped. And I know if they get down in there, they could find themselves trapped trying to get out of there. And so you'll find that most partiers don't want to go more than 100 feet off the parking lot, except be above that, but they don't want to be trapped either. So we would work to design it to lessen the possibility we could have that issue. But I would never stand up in front of any group and tell them that we couldn't have some group come out there and decide they want to party. And at this point, we do allow alcohol in our parks, unless we decide to prohibit it. If we thought there was an issue with it in this area, we could prohibit the alcohol. That would be an issue we could take up with the board committee and say, alcohol is not working, we don't want it here. The other thing is, most of our access points, the hours are posted from 11 to 6 as being closed. We generally post them as being open from 6 to 11, so a different way of looking at it. But we allow direct ingress and egress for people utilizing our boat landings, so that a person could actually put in at 4 o'clock in the morning. Say it's a fisherman that wants to get down in and go down. They could actually put in, provided they just go in and out and don't do any other things while they're there. So we have had that happen, and we've had people tell us, they thanked us for us, and we had people say, well, wait, now we've got partying going on again. Well, the party's just a guy getting out of the boat that, 3 o'clock in the morning causes a problem, but it's usually very minimal. But I won't, is there going to be an issue there? Once in a while, we may have a problem.
Yes, ma'am.
2 quick questions. It can be a little short. Have you conducted an EIR study, and what is the time frame on this?
The EIR you're referring to, endangered...
Environmental impact report.
Okay.
Roger,
we have not.
And it's not required for this type of project.
Is it, Roger, is it under acreage?
It's, Well, it's only 4.2 acres for starters. We do have to do a site assessment for potential contamination. And we can do a visual on our own, and we got people trained to do that, so we actually walk the property and look at it without anything to indicate if there's any issues with something buried in the ground or that type of thing. We also did identify the sensitive wetland areas, so that we will stay out of those wetland areas, and we have to identify that in our report, so we've already done that. We basically, that's everything we do when we start these things. We can't go in and, our goal here actually is to just reverse what people might think. We want to help recover the wetlands, we want to help recover the riverbank, we want to do all those good things, so the project we're working on will also involve that.
Thank you, Roger. And time frame.
Oh, I can talk to the time frame thing. We are in the process of a stewardship grant. If we're approved for a stewardship grant, it would likely be this fall would be the soonest we could start. And then if we didn't get to that, or it wasn't completed by fall, it would be the first part of next year, once conditions are right. So.
Okay, we need to move on. One more question if there is one, that's it. Gentleman in the back.
I'm just wondering, what's the projected cost for developing this?
Well, we're working on that right now, but the actual development part, the first go around is probably going to be around $30,000. And I'm actually meeting with Fox Brothers tomorrow to get a little closer ballpark figure for the development part. The stewardship grant we're applying for, that we have most of the stuff figured out for already, is to purchase the property. And that fund, can we meet?
It's we have an appraisal process we had to complete. The price of the appraisal was $65,000. I already announced it to the county board, so I can announce it here. We will get 50% or whatever, 50% of $65,000, $32,500. We would get that back, and then we have purchase property money that's been donated or through timber sales that we'd use to match that amount. So we're not using tax levy dollars to actually purchase it, except through the state stewardship fund, which is tax levy dollars. The development would also be covered in a similar manner, and we do have some donations and things we're talking about right now with people helping us. So our ballpark of $30,000 does not include those donations coming in. We are looking for donations if anybody would like to chip in. We'll only take donations.
Okay, John, Roger, thank you. Okay, James gonna say a few words on non-metallic mining licensing ordinance.
You said I'm gonna have 3 or 4 minutes.
That's it? They overspent their time, so.
I'm gonna assume for just a minute that there might be some people in this room that don't understand the difference between metallic and non-metallic mining, just so we're all clear on it. It's been an issue all over the state. The metallic mining is iron, copper, that kind of thing. Non-metallic mining is sand and gravel, frac sand. So I wrote this up so I wouldn't miss anything. The town of Dayton began to write a non-metallic mining licensing ordinance several years ago. This was instigated by Chris Twine and worked on by Steve Sues, Kay Ellis, and myself. We stopped doing that when the county decided it needed to write its own ordinance, which would apply to the towns. This started with the County Implementation Steering Committee, which Kay Ellis and I were also on. And after a while, they broke out an ad hoc committee from this committee. That was done by Ryan Brown, who's the county zoning administrator. Kay and I have been concerned that there was no representation on that committee of environmental concerns and environmental lawyer or residents who've had experience living near mines. Now, after a 1.5-year moratorium by the county on non-metallic mining anywhere in the county starting up, this group came up with an ordinance. And public hearings were held with objections. Some of them were distance of residents to mines, health concerns, property value concerns, among others. The draft of this ordinance refers to DNR regulations on some of these things, but those are not usually addressed unless somebody complains. There are a few regular checks on mines. A last public hearing is going to be held this Thursday, day after tomorrow, at the courthouse at 9:45. The Planning and Zoning Committee meets on Thursday, May 7th to approve that ordinance, and on May 19th, the moratorium ends, and the non-metallic mining county ordinance is approved or disapproved by the county board. Anybody's welcome and encouraged to attend any of these meetings if you're interested. The Dayton Plan Commission Subcommittee, which was Steve King and myself, on non-metallic mining, needs to reassemble immediately, like now, and go back to the non-metallic mining licensing ordinance. Would be a license that the town could issue. We started to try to finish our own licensing in Dayton, which would apply to new mines or any that have not been in operation for at least 500 hours in the past year. We don't have much here. We've got Fox Brothers and Carew, and only Fox is in operation on Cape. According to Terry Gerlach, who's a retired geologist, Dayton does not have any mineable frac sand. There probably is some, but too deep to make it worthwhile, or it's been developed on top of that already. Our concern is for sand and gravel, of which Dayton has a vast amount. And I have a DVD here anybody's welcome to borrow on the education night we had, if you couldn't make it. And part of that is Terry Gerlach's presentation on sand and gravel. We will need to consult with an attorney to see what we can protect beyond the county ordinance. The object is not to deny non-metallic mining in Dayton. It is to make these operations livable for both the mining companies and the residents. Several issues we in Dayton need to address are whether health concerns will be regularly checked, how or if we can protect property values, which the county did not include, how to control road use issues to keep expense to the township and the disturbance of neighbors' daily lives to a minimum. We would ideally like to have this licensing ordinance ready to be passed as soon as possible in our township. This is related to mining is water use. This is the next issue that Dayton will need to study to protect our resources. Anyone interested in either mining or water is welcome to contact me. So, any questions? That's it.
Why did Carew leave?
Well, Carew just, does anybody know? Judy?
It's about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's about 10 years. Did you say when or why?
Why?
They just left.
No, the county
No?
did not grant their request.
On the
for
next 5
additional
acre,
probation.
So,
The reason I ask is these are fine lines you walk here
Mhm.
between citizens and businesses and.
right, exactly.
Where it goes.
And we want to make it something that both sides can live with.
Okay, thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
Non-metallic mining license order, we go through that. Highway superintendent, if we don't have a highway superintendent, if something goes wrong, there's an emergency on the highway, the board has to convene to approve the money. With the highway superintendent, the superintendent has the authority to approve funds for emergency work. We need a new highway superintendent with a new board. Any discussion?
Who are you looking at?
Is there a suggestion?
I'll make
We're
it.
gonna have a planning commission to do that.
Well, I'll have to find out what it is.
I'll volunteer.
Okay.
I just didn't want.
Okay. you
When
want-
when I look at our three backgrounds, there's a lot of things you two can do that I can't do, but this one's probably something. Make a motion to take me to, superintendent?
I'll second it.
Okay. Now, if someone out there wants to be the highway superintendent, please come talk to me. It's not my dream job, but I'll do it. And if someone would like to take a shot at it sometime in the future, please come forward. All right, that order of business is taken care of. Planning Commission Chairman, with the change in the town board comes a change in the planning commission. All three of us will be on the plan. Jane already was on, she'll be on, John and I will be on. So I decided you should be the chairman, and I have a basic management philosophy that we need to spread out the authority a little bit to get the best results, and if one person tries to run everything, it's probably not the best thing for all concerned. So I have plenty on my plate here, and I'll participate in this, but I'm going to appoint John as our planning commission chair. So, all your. Any other discussion? Okay.
So do we make a motion, or did you?
I think I
Yeah.
I can't, I'm sure I'll find out. The board of review. So, this is a reassessment year. There will be an open book day this year. You all know what an open book day is. There will be one this year. Subsequent formal review hearings, as requested, will come after the open book day. The board of review, which is, or was here, will meet in the first week of May to assess the progress of the assessor's book, which I understand, if you want to give us an update on that.
I talked to the appraisal company today, and our contact, the gentleman's name is Wayne. He could not give me a date. I asked him, he said definitely not in June, and he wasn't even sure about July, because this is what this company does, and it does it for a lot of municipalities. So their process is to take care of any of the municipalities where it is just a maintenance year. Those are less work. And then to do the ones where the reassessments have been done, which would be ours. He wasn't sure if even July would work, but I gave him my contact information. They have an individual that does nothing but scheduling for the company, and so I'm waiting to hear from their schedule or to have some kind of an idea. I did tell him that we would be meeting, because by state law we have to meet to adjourn at a later date for the board of review in May, the first part of May, and then I would really like to have a date by then if possible.
So they're behind, and we will meet the first week of May, as you mentioned, and hopefully we'll get a better update at that time. Once we get a date when the assessor's book is done, the assessor will deliver the book to the clerk, Judy. And Judy will then post a notice. And 30 days after that notice, the open book will be scheduled for that 30-day period. After the open book, if there's anyone that wants to make an appeal, there's paperwork that has to be filled out, and then we'll arrange for those hearings after that. But that's the general layout of what we do for board review, and it will be this year. Any quick questions?
Yeah. I'm George Calvo, Camp Road. In the past, if I recall correctly, when assessments were done, we could call the assessor to get a written report of how our property was assessed. And there were sometimes errors, like being assessed for a basement that doesn't exist or a porch that doesn't exist. Will we be able to do that before the assessments are final, and then you have to go through the open book to make an appeal?
I personally have never done that. I've always just gone to the open book day. Judy, do you have any feedback on that?
I'm thinking that, and they have changed the laws a little bit on it, that you will get your revaluation in the mail. There will be a time period where, yes, if you have any questions regarding it, you will be able to call them and hopefully take
So
care
that
of
they
it
can
over the
correct
phone.
errors.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's kind of
And
the same
usually
thing
when
we
you
have to
do a reval like this, the open book isn't just for an afternoon or a few hours. Usually it could go on for a week.
Well, but open book is really comparing your property to other similar properties, or looking at...
Well, or they will have people here, my assumption is they'll have people here that will be able to sit down with you and take a look at your property if you have any questions and see.
I see. But you have to be available for open book. You know, for some people that's a problem.
Didn't they just measure the houses and take pictures?
That's what they're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
I see, but what evaluation can they do on that?
Well, I think it's been a few years since we've been assessed. And so they're recessed, so we're bringing things up to date. So anyway, that's kind of a general summary of what's going
But
on
we
there.
need to have a date
Okay.
I don't.
I'm available. First week in May, let's take a date. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Well, the 3rd is a Sunday, so, or Monday, 5th,
How about the 6th, Wednesday?
Wednesday,
Is the 6th, okay?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, 3 o'clock on Wednesday.
and we just have to set another date then, right?
Well, we meet then, and we meet the
Need
day after
to
that.
adjourn at a later date.
All right.
Anything else on that particular subject? Okay, we move on. Incoming board goal setting. I took a list of all three of us on what we thought our goals might be for this coming 2 years. And in no particular order, I selected several of them and put them on this back page of what you have handed out to you. At the bottom, there are 2 blanks. So what we're asking you to do is select your top 4 priorities and just put a 1, 2, 3, 4 next to them. If you don't see anything in the top group that allows you to complete the top 4, then you can write something in down below and select that. Please do that, and then just set it on the back table on your way out. We will compile that data, and we will get back to you next month on what your preferences are.
You recognize that some of these are more immediately important, while some others may be more important long run, and will the board take that into consideration?
I do place extra copies on the back
And
table.
there are extra copies on the back table. So everyone understand that? We're looking for your input. No, you put a number
Put a
on
number.
the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you want to add one that's not here because you think it's in your top 4, then you just add it down below. Yes, ma'am?
What does LHD stand for?
Little Hope.
Oh, thank you.
That brings us to our final topic here in new business. There's an awful lot on the agenda for this coming year. We have 3 bridges we're doing. We'd like to do a multi-year plan for expenditures. We have a webpage here that needs some upgrading, from what I'm told. And so it's been my experience that we need a lot of legwork right now. And the best way to do that, from my past experience, is through the use of summer interns, which are typically high school, preferably college students, who major in certain things. And you bring them in for the summer, you pay them, it's maybe $8, $10 an hour. You get great work out of them, a lot of energy, and good results. I've never had bad results using interns. So what I'd like to do, and we've discussed it at the board here, is we're gonna advertise for a civil engineering intern that can help us both watching bridge work and also looking at a multi-year plan with the county for bridge work and road work coming up, so we can set up a plan and an expenditure schedule for that plan. As far as the other is, it would be a computer expert or a kid that's really good with computers and web pages to help us upgrade our web page. That would be more of a part-time thing, where the previous one would be more of a 30 to 40 hour a week. This will cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $7,000 for the summer. I think it's money well spent based on what we have in front of us, and so we're going to be looking for a couple interns. We may not find them, we may find 1, not 2. We won't hire someone if we don't think they're right for the job, but we are going to look for one and hopefully find the right people to help us along the summer. Any comments on that at all?
Good idea.
Thank you.
Chris, can I say something?
Yes.
If anybody There is a list of websites on the Wisconsin Towns Association of all kinds of towns. If anybody wants to look at those sites and suggest some that look easy to you, that, like to a normal person, if you think it looks good to you, let us know.
Upcoming meetings, so we have the Planning Commission monthly meeting on May 12th. And the next monthly town meeting on May 19th, 7 p.m. At that meeting, we will be revisiting the annual budget and discussing possible issues there. And we will also have an update on the Little Hope Dam and the Lake District issue, along with maybe one or two other items that come up. So with that, it's been kind of a long evening. It's all past 8:30. And all I have to say is this is a wonderful place we live. So go enjoy your lives, and we'll see you next month. Meeting adjourned.